Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the pre-race briefing for the ÖDYSSEY SwimRun Orcas happening on Sunday, September 26th out in Washington State. We have on the line with us Lars Finanger, who's the founder of ÖDYSSEY. Hey, Lars, how's it going? And Brent Molesbury out in Washington, one of the race directors for the event. So I'm going to pass this off to Lars pretty quick here, and he's going to go over all of the things you guys need to know. This is mandatory, this briefing, and it is taking the place of our in-person briefing that we usually have. So packet pickup will no longer have a briefing, but if you do have some questions that we haven't answered on the site or in this briefing, you're more than welcome to ask those when you pick your packet up. So let me pass that over to Lars.
Hey, thanks, Aaron. So yeah, welcome guys. We're so excited. Again, my name's Lars. Geez, I think it was dating back to 2017. We had put on one race out in Maine, and we looked at growing the series, and we saw the San Juan Islands and knew nothing really about them. Well, actually knew nothing about them, and heard about Brent out in Bellingham. And so we're just completely over the moon that someone with such a deep knowledge like Brent, who is a kayaking guide, a whale watching guide, and so much more out in the San Juan Islands for so long, that he was also an adventure racer and a race director, and you know, was able to kind of guide us through the ins and outs of Orcas Island and identify that Orcas was the place to be. We've produced 2 races on Orcas. Of course, we didn't have the race last year because of the pandemic situation, but we are so completely stoked to be going back to the Pacific Northwest to Orcas this upcoming week. We get out there Thursday and start doing our thing. I think we start seeing most of you guys come out there Friday, maybe even Saturday then. But yeah, I'm gonna also play kind of the passenger for this one. Brent's really the superstar of this race. It is his backyard. He knows these trails like the back of his hand. We've even got him through those swims a couple of times, so he has done the race. I've actually raced the race myself twice. So you know, I know the long course race as well from a racer's perspective. I am in a race directing role this year, so that's going to be fun. But yeah, we're just so excited to have all of you guys join us. So Brent, is there anything you want to say before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of the race weekend?
Orcas is a beautiful place. We look forward to sharing it with you, and it's going to be a great race weekend.
Awesome. So Aaron's going to be our moderator because he's always the most prepared out of the 3 of us when it comes down to the operations side and the logistics side of things. So Aaron, why don't you kind of steer us through what our schedule should be here?
Okay, so guys, just going back a little bit, I take care of most of the customer service emails, website, things like that. So if you notice anything on the website that you have a question about, you can still email me. I am going to probably be on the road Monday at the latest, so I'll be out of pocket, but I can definitely answer some questions. But we ask that you look at the frequently asked questions page. That should answer 99% of what you have. The race website page itself for Orcas, and for any of the events, it's just ÖDYSSEYSwimRun.com/ then whatever the event is, whether that's Orcas or Mackinac, Ludington, Casco, whatever. So that's where you can find most of the questions. The deadline was the week before this one for switching things over and things like that. But if you have an emergency, you can always email us. We'll try to work with you the best we can. But all of that stuff, the deadline's passed for it. We've shipped the materials. So if you did not have your packet mailed to you and you didn't pay the extra $15 to have that mailed, you do have to make packet pickup. So packet pickup's going to be at Rosario. Lars, can you talk about exactly where that's going to be, or Brent, either one of you guys?
Yeah, I can take that question. So Rosario Resort will be our host resort for the race this year. It's down on Cascade Bay in East Sound on Orcas Island. Beautiful location. When you're down at the resort, a number of people are staying there, but basically at the kind of the eastern edge of the resort, where the like the fuel dock is for the marina, there's what's called the beach house, kind of a meeting convention building over there, and that's where packet pickup and race finish and such will be. So when
Okay.
you're at the resort, if you just kind of head to the left and stay along the water, you can't miss it.
Okay, so guys, on the race website page for Orcas, at the very bottom, there's a bunch of buttons that you can click. I think I've got either the address or the coordinates on there, actually on the button. But if you click the button, it will take you to a Google map and show you exactly where that's at. And that's the same for every important address that we have for this race and for all the races. So that's packet pickup. If you did have your packet mailed to you, a quick reminder that you can or you're going to pick up the rest of your stuff, because you are missing a few things. If you're solo, you're going to be missing your rest tube. That's mandatory for solo athletes, and all athletes that had their packet mailed, they're going to be missing their timing chip. If you rented a wetsuit, we have 19 of those are sold out, I think, but if you rented one of those, you'll also have to pick that up. So those are the people that paid $15 to have it mailed. You still got to get that. You can get that race morning at the start line. Our timer, Ryan, he's going to have that, and we'll hand those out to you, those handful. I think there were 60 of you that had your packets mailed. For the rest of you, though, that didn't, you have to pick everything up at packet pickup. So I think aside from some of the rules for packet pickup, I'm going to send an email out in the next few days that's going to have your QR code on it, and that's linked to your registration. So you can either print that or you can show it on your phone to me, or whoever's at packet pickup will scan that. That's super quick. We just need to see your ID. That's it, just your ID and your QR, and we'll get your stuff together for you. And usually that takes all of 30 seconds for you to pick your packet up. So those are really the rules of packet pickup, and you have to pick up your own packet. You cannot pick up anyone else's. That is an insurance requirement for us. So please don't come expecting to pick up a teammate's packet, because it's not going to happen. So aside from that, Brent, can you talk a little bit about the ferries? Because I know we've gotten some questions about schedules and maybe some things that are happening, how to buy tickets, that kind of stuff. Can you briefly go over that?
Yeah, so with the ferries, particularly if you're bringing a car, make sure you get a reservation. If you haven't got a reservation yet and it's full for the sailing you want, 2 days prior to your sailing, another 30% of the boat comes available for reservations. So at 7 a.m. Pacific time that comes available. So if you're planning to come out on Friday, Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time, you want to hop online, and that's when you want to reserve the ferry for coming out. There is a ferry schedule change. We go from the summer ferry schedule to the fall ferry schedule on Sunday. It switches, but if you have reservations, it's whatever ferry you reserve coming back, you'll be on the correct ferry there. And then there has been some staffing issues for the ferries, and it seems like most of those have pretty well worked themselves out. When there have been staffing shortages, the Washington State Ferries have tried to keep the main ferries, so the ones from Anacortes to Orcas or Friday Harbor, they've tried to keep those ones fully staffed and running on schedule. And then the Inter Island Ferry is the one that seems to be canceled the most. I've been keeping an eye on the updates there. But as of late, there haven't been, the last couple of days, there hasn't been any cancellations of any sailings. But anything we learn there, we will pass along to you as well.
Okay. Lars, did you want to add anything to that, or you want to roll on?
Yeah, let's keep rolling. That was great.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen real quick as we go over some other things. So packet pickup, the schedule, this is the website page for Orcas that you're looking at right here. So you can see that packet pickup runs technically from 1 to 4. But what we did, and this will be in the email, is we've divided it up into 1 hour sections. 1 to 2 is short course only packet pickup. 2 to 3 is long course only. And then 3 to 3:30 is still packet pickup all the way actually till 4. But we're going to try and wrap up by 4 at the very latest. But the 3 to 3:30 or 3 to 4 o'clock is kind of that informal ask questions, pick up your packet if you're running late and you couldn't make your 1 hour window we gave you. That's more than enough time for that amount of athletes. We had more at Casco Bay and no line. We rattled through them very quickly. So don't get upset or panic if you can't make that hour. You can still come towards the end, but we want to just try to get as many in that time period as we can. So moving on, here's the rules of packet pickup, which you can read on your own. Parking opens at 6:30 a.m. at Rosario. We haven't discussed exactly where the bag check will be, but that beach house area will have a place where you can, and we're calling it bag check, but it's really informal. There'll just be an area where you're going to drop your bag. We don't recommend putting anything in that of value, anything in that you can't do without, like keys or cell phone or any of that. We can't stop you, but we want to warn you not to, because we're not going to watch those bags. Those are going to be just left there, and you're going to pick them up when you're done with the race. And it is what it is. So just be careful with that. I'm going to stop here at the starting times and kind of pass that over to Lars, unless you want Brent to take that, Lars, but just talk maybe about the starting times, the cutoffs, and then we can go dig into the course a little bit.
You know, it's kind of my mantra. It will be my mantra throughout race week. You want to point the finger at Brent. You want to blame him when the hills keep going up and up and up and up, and you're bonking a little bit, but you know, you'll also you know, have a big grin on your face at the end of things because of what you've accomplished. But with that said, I'm going to pass over. Brent knows this like the back of his hand. Brent, it's all you, buddy.
Sounds good. Thanks, Lars, for the blame and the kudos.
Yep, you'll understand on Sunday.
Yeah, so we can start with the long course. The long course starts at 7:30 in the morning. We're going to start over in front of the Moran Mansion, which is also at Rosario Resort, but it's not the exact same location as the beach house where the finish and the pre-race are. And so we're going to do, you're going to come right out of the gate, starting in front of the hotel there, and run one is really the only run you have the entire day on pavement. And so it's going to come up the hill, take a hard right, kind of loop around through the resort and drop down to the water. And you're going to enter the water right next to the beach house. That first run is just about a mile. There's definitely some up and down to it. And that downhill is all on pavement. If you're and the short course shares this start as well. If you're a road runner and that's where you're most comfortable, then you should, I guess you could push this part. If you want to save yourself for the rest of the race, which has a lot still to come, I'd take it kind of chill on this part. You're not gonna win the race in this first mile. That first swim right there.
I'm going to interject and say, Brent calls hills. When Brent says hills, these are 20% grade, upwards of 20% grade. They're very steep incline. You are going to be very warmed up by the time that you hit the swim that Brent's about to talk about. You'll be milky.
Yeah, you'll be ready for it. So the first swim here, swim one, is the one and only swim that we have in salt water. And for anyone who's done the race in the past, it's a chilly swim. We get a lot of questions about this swim. It's a beautiful swim. It's not super long. As Lars mentioned, you're really warmed up before you even hit the water. And as you come out of that water, you're going to hop into run two. It's going to start out pretty flat, kind of looping around through the resort. And then it goes up. And it's about 400 vertical feet to get up to Cascade Lake. Swim two is in Rosario Lagoon. It's a fairly short swim. It's pretty shallow in there. Beautiful little lagoon, nice clear water. Once you get out, there's a little bridge right where swim two ends, and you're going to actually get out on the far side of the bridge, the swimmer's left, and you'll run across the bridge. And then run three is going to loop around that southwest leg of Cascade Lake. There's not a lot of elevation on that trail, but it's a pretty technical trail, lots of roots and rocks and that kind of stuff. You will hop in the water there for swim three, and swim three is coming back across Cascade Lake. You're going to get out of the water pretty close to where you do on swim two. You're going to take a hard right. Run four goes along that western shore of Cascade Lake. And then this is where the cliff jump in is at the start of swim four. So as you get to that location, we'll have markers there as well. But basically, if you go straight off, it's a nice cliff jump, nice and deep. You can listen to the kind of course preview stuff with Low Tide Boys and get some more details on that. You can also cut to the right of that, and there's kind of a rock ramp that will drop you into the water if you don't want to do the cliff jump. The cliff jump is not mandatory. You're going
Yes, it
to.
is. Yes, it is. Do it. Don't be a wuss. If
No
I
one-
if I
no one's
actually
ever
raced it, I would do it. But you know,
No one's regretted doing it yet. Everyone has a really good time. There's even people who do backflips, although I don't recommend that.
One thing, Brent, I am going to interject and say that's a point where you need to untether from your teammate. If tethering is a strategy of yours, you have to untether when you jump in. We don't want one teammate jumping and the other standing at the top of the cliff, still thinking about what they're going to do.
Getting yarded into the water in a nice belly flop.
That wouldn't end well.
No. So at the end of that, there's a aid station as you come out into, it's a picnic area where you pop out there. So you'll have water and food. And then run 5 it's a sizable run. Run 5, the tail end of it is actually where the short course and the long course split. So up until now, the short course and the long course have been the same. At the end of run 5, which is just pretty much a continuous climb up to Mountain Lake, you're going to hop into Mountain Lake for the first time. And this is actually the longest swim of the day. And so you're coming from the south up to the north, and it actually hits a little tiny island up there right by where it says R6 and that safety boat is. And so you're going to swim looking for this island. You're going to hop on this island, kind of navigate your way across the rough terrain on this little island, jump back in the water and do about a 50-meter swim that gets you back to the shoreline of Mountain Lake.
Can I interject for 1 second? Because on the previous briefings for Casco Bay and Mackinac, Lars and I made it a point to tell people, you know, if you're doing a swim and you get out and you find yourself waiting for your partner, and that's something that happens more than just that once, obviously you're going to want to tether together. Lars, if you want to expand on that just a little bit, but we've made a point to say that because you know, we don't want people separating too much in the water.
Yeah, so the whole point of, if you're a team swim run, you need to be staying within 10 meters of one another during swim legs, and about 100 meters or so on the run legs. You know, we don't strictly enforce that, meaning no one's out there with a yardstick measuring out 10 meters or 100 meters at any point. What that does mean is if you get to any land point after a swim and you're standing on the shore for minutes waiting for your teammate, you've really done things the wrong way and kind of out of the ethos of what swim run is. You should be swimming in very close proximity with your teammate at all times. That's why we really recommend using a tether, because it keeps you together on a swim so you don't have to think about it. If any of our volunteers and or staff are at a point where you come out of the water and we do ask, you know, you're here, where's your teammate? Well, I don't know. You know, that's a DQ-able offense. And not only that, you know, we take that very, very, that's a big safety hazard for us as well. And so, you know, we just don't have much room for error with that. So be very cognizant of where your teammate is at all times.
And that segues real quick, and sorry, Brent, that I'm going off topic, but it's a good place to just interject this real quick. The race and you can see it on the screen here. I went to the frequently asked questions page, and under gear, there's an accordion drop down that says what is mandatory. So just a reminder, you're going to get a swim cap from us. Long course is red, short course is blue. Packet pickup, we give these to you. You'll also get the bibs. These are on the outermost layer outside of your wetsuit. And yes, if you peel your wetsuit down, you may have to take this off you likely have to take this off and then put it back on when you do that. But we should always be able to see this and see your number. Everybody has a unique number. And if you're on a team, that means each of you has your own number, your own timing chip. So whether you're a team or not, doesn't matter. You're going to have your own number and your own chip. If you're on a team, those are linked together, and the last person to cross the finish line of the team is the official finish time. So the solo red and blue, I don't have a red one though. See how the piping around the edges is white and it says, or not Solo, I'm sorry. Or yeah, Solo is marked right here. So Solo has the white around the edges and the team has the dark. So we give those to you. We give you a collapsible cup to use because we're a cupless race. If you're solo, we give you a rest tube, and this goes around your waist. You really don't know it's there. Make sure it's snug. If you have an emergency in the water, this is a whistle. It doubles as a whistle and the ripcord to inflate this. It's a big yellow buoy that you can grab onto. If we see that, we know you're in trouble. Come to help. I don't have the timing chip on me right here, but you're going to get a timing chip and an ankle strap. Either ankle, doesn't matter, but you return that at the end. You're going to return this rest tube at the end. And then we have rentable wetsuits. Like I said, I think all those are rented, but if you did rent one of those, you're going to need to return that at the end as well. So your responsibility is to, I mean, you can swim without goggles, I guess, but have goggles, have shoes, have a wetsuit, whether you're renting one or you buy one, borrow one from someone, whatever, a whistle of some kind. If it's not built into the rest tube and you're solo, you need to have your own whistle, a compression bandage. There, if you click this, it's an actual link that'll show you exactly what it is. The Israeli bandage is great. This green one right here. And they're water, they come in a package, it's waterproof, but if you get something else, you can always put it in a plastic bag that keeps it waterproof as well. And then the teams need a tether, as Lars said. You may or may not use it, but one tether per team on one of the people that's on the team at all times. So,
and the reason why we make that mandatory at our races to at least have is in case of weather coming in. You know, we're in such remote areas where we put these races on where, you know, big swells, big wind, big rain, you know, big storms come in. We got to have a system where if we need to ensure that you're together, that we can make that a mandatory thing. We've never had to do it at any of our races yet, but that doesn't mean that you have to tether. You're not required to tether, but you do need to, one of you on the team has to have one.
And just a few more things. So
sorry to interject with the funny story, but why we kind of laughed about the goggle situation. Brent did the Otelo race in Catalina without goggles, not by choice. So
just for one swim, it's terrible. Don't do it.
He knows what that's like.
And that jump, just while everyone's listening, I've been the photographer at a number of these races for a number of years, and I'll tell you that at Casco Bay, Austin, and Orcas, I obviously, as a photographer, you gravitate towards the big jumps, cliffs, docks, whatever, and every time, without fail, there are a number of people that lose their goggles. So, I mean, whether you take them off and hold on to them, hold them, however you do it, but do not jump in without securing your goggles in some way. They will come off, you'll lose them. I guarantee that there's numerous people every time. It never fails. So, just a couple other things so we don't have to go back and Brent can just rattle through the rest of this. The aid stations are going to have precision hydration gels, look like this. So you can take those. If we give those collapsible cups to you, and you can use, there's water coolers there with water and or precision hydration electrolytes mixed into the water. But if you have, or you want to get before the race, one of these flasks, they can carry more and you can carry it on you versus the cup is obviously open. So that would just be at the aid stations, but these you can carry on you. Unfortunately, we don't have any of these to sell. We may at the end of the year, and we will next year for sure, but you can get these online. And then these are the tablets that are in some of the coolers for electrolytes. And then as far as course markings, if you've done this race before, you'll notice that these are the same. They're yellow and they clip them on the trees, branches, signs, bushes, whatever. And these will lead the way. Just look for these, heads up racing. Make sure you're looking all directions at all times. And when the course forks or there's any major turn, you're going to see something like this. And that arrow can be going whatever direction you're going to go. Stay on the trails. This goes for, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to interject when you were talking about the nutrition quick. You know, so the precision hydration that we have in the coolers to drink, That's really, it's a no calorie drink. It's purely an electrolyte replacement. This is a type of race where it's quite easy to cramp potentially. You are in cold water, you are running a lot, so your legs are compromised. If you need calories that are part of your nutrition plan, we recommend that you pack those with you. So Brent, myself, John Stevens, who's one of our race directors as well, Aaron, someday when he finally gets his butt into one of these swim runs, we'll start the race with up to a dozen gels on our wetsuit in our pockets. I know that sounds like a lot, but then we know that we have everything that we need. And then everything at the aid station is just kind of above and beyond that. So you don't have to use a dozen, but if it's 6 or something like that, or if there's a bar or something with some solid food, some solid calories, but plan on that. That's something that you can take care of yourself. So do pack some nutrition with you if that's what you've been training with.
Lars, the reason I haven't done it is because I can't fit whole pizzas, chicken, ice cream in peanut butter sandwiches into the suit and swim. So as soon as you figure out that, I'm in, man.
Okay. Hey, well, after you have some of Pizza Jim's pizza, you'll know which race that it is that you need to do.
All right. So just the trail markings, guys, every race without fail, it's not a lot, but there's somebody or a couple people that will go off trail. And whenever we ask them, it's usually, I just didn't see that marker, or I didn't see that flag on the tree. When you guys get tired, your head's going to drop. It's inevitable. You're not going to look around as much. You got to look. This isn't the course is open. It's not closed down like other races. So, these are not every foot, but they're going to be within sight. If you're on a trail, don't just randomly turn off. If a trail is forked or you can turn right, we're going to have a sign there or something directing you to turn. So again, do not turn off the trail you're on unless we turn you off, and you should be safe. So I'm going to pass that back to you, Brent. I'll go back to the map here, and we can.
Just to be clear on that. So the tape that Aaron was holding up, we call those directional tape, and it may, at points, you may go 100 yards, a quarter mile without seeing some of that. That's if you're on a trail that has no deviation at all. And, we just can't put those every 10 feet, 20 feet, etc. So we really try to put those in areas, as racers ourselves, we think that, I'd really like to see something right about now, just as encouragement. And we do pepper the trails. We fortify the trails a bit more when we come in and out of turns, just to make sure. And those cool clips that you see, that was a Brent invention as well. So I feel like we're just in the presence of greatness here. So I'm going to turn it back to the guru.
I told Brent before you got on the call, him and I should just do it, So
you don't need me. Me and my flesh cone, color shirt, which was an Orcas finisher shirt, by the way, one year.
Yeah, thank God that year. All right, Brent, take us out. We're on run 7 here.
All right, so we're back on the long course here, and this is the run 7's the big climb. So you get an aid station right before it there at Mountain Lake Landing. And take advantage of that aid station, get plenty of fluid, because here's the big climb up to Mount Constitution. So you're going to start at Mountain Lake's at about 1,200 feet, and you've got 1,200 plus feet of climbing to go up to the top of Mount Constitution. Mount Constitution here, highest point in the San Juan Islands, 2,250 feet above sea level. Hopefully it's clear out. The views on this trail are stunning. If there's some views looking back to the east at Mount Baker and the Cascades and up to the north into Canada, it's a stunning trail, but you're going to earn every foot of that elevation. We'll have another aid station up at the top there, as the little symbol represents. There is actually a restroom there just below the aid station in the parking lot. And then you're back on a different trail that's going to head down.
Brent, I gotta interrupt you here. That is a do not skip aid station, but do not skip that one. You may think you're all good. take something, take an extra gel, slam a water, some pH, take something there, because you're about to enter into hell or purgatory, depending on how you're doing.
Also scenic. Who knew?
So encouraging.
Yeah. I mean, Lars brings up a good point, because from here, it's a long ways. It's a big descent down to the Twin Lakes. Then you're going to do 2 short swims in the Twin Lakes, and then you're going to do another climb back up to the top of Mount Pickett. So you have a second climb here. There will be an aid station at the top of Mount Pickett just before you turn off. Once you leave that aid station, you're kind of in actually the remotest part of the whole course. And you're going to drop down some trails on that east side of Pickett. Beautiful area, really cool, like mossy forests and everything. And you'll slowly kind of work your way back around. You're going to come in towards that south end of Mountain Lake, and you're going to take a hard right there and come up and run 9 ends in this. There's kind of a little bay there. And when you get in the water, you might not quite be able to see the exit buoy, but if you just start swimming, you'll pick it up really quickly.
So
and
Brent,
you're going to exit.
that's the only spot where there's a buoy for the exit, or no? Am I wrong? Can you talk a little
We'll
bit
have a
about
couple.
that?
Yeah. So for swim exits, we're going to have 2 different things out there. One is we'll have feather banners with a strobe light on it. And so between
Those
the
are
feather
big
banner and
pink.
the strobe.
Yeah, big pink flags.
Yeah. Big pink flags. They're, I don't know, 8-10 feet high. And then they'll have a flashing white strobe on it. So that'll guide you in. And in other places, we're going to have a giant, it's actually for kayak racing, buoy. So it's about 4 foot tall, 4 foot, 5 foot wide inflatable buoy that will be at the other exits. So also super visible. And so
Those are
where you're going to
orange,
have,
right?
Are those the
And they're
ones that say
orange.
Brandon Nelson Realty on them?
they do say Brandon Nelson Partners.
Yeah,
And so
plug.
And Brandon and Heather will both be racing.
they will.
Yeah.
They're stoked. And if you're in Bellingham and want to go for a swim run, they go every Friday morning at 5:30 in the morning. So come on over.
Wow.
So where we're going to have those, we'll have one of them here on Mountain Lake, which will be initially at the end of swim 5, that really long swim. And then that buoy will get moved over and be at the exit for swim 9. So both swim 5 and swim 9, you'll be looking for the giant buoy. And yeah, you can't miss it. And yeah, so swim 9 there comes across, and you're going to get out right at the aid station. So you hit that aid station at Mountain Lake a second time, and then you're going to work your way along this western shore of Mountain Lake. This is a fairly flat, fast section of trail, not a lot of elevation, and it's a pretty smooth trail. You will see right where swim 6 comes across, the short course actually splits there. So as you're running, you'll see a sign that says short course to the right, long course goes straight. So it'll be differentiated there for you, but there is a split.
Let's see 1 second here.
So for them, swim 5 is swim 6 for the long course. So they're going to cut that right, and you're going to keep going straight.
Yep.
And then you're going to come up. Swim 10 is kind of a steep little drop down to the water edge there. And there is a rope swing that I don't actually recommend using, but there is a rope swing there. Head across, short little run for run 11. Nice ramp down for swim 11. Quick little jaunt across another island on an island. And then swim 12 is going to bring you back over to the eastern shore of Mountain Lake. And then you're going to continue around this eastern shore of Mountain Lake. And this is one of the few spots where the course actually kind of doubles up on itself. And so you may see runners going in opposite directions right on there between run 9 and run 13. At the far end of the lake, you're going to drop into the canyon following Cascade Creek down. And then the split occurs right there from what you run up on run 5. And this is a single track that continues right along the creek, crosses below Cascade Falls. And then you're going to cross the road there, make your way back to there is actually an aid station here at the end of run 13. and then swim 13 shoots across Cascade Lake. It ends a little bit shorter than the swim 3 does, and you're going to run along this southern shore of Rosario Lagoon. And this is, again, they actually did a bunch of trail work on here in the last year. So it's smoother than it was in the past, but it's still a really technical section. And then this descent that kind of shoots straight down where Aaron's arrow is, that's a really steep descent. You've had a long day. Just take it easy going down that, because it is a steep descent that drops you in, and then you're going to swing through into the finish at the beach house. And then once you get to the finish, that's where Sean and the crew from Pizza Rocks will be ready with the wood-fired pizza, all you can eat, and those boys throw out some great pies.
Slinging all day.
All day.
Hey, can we
get one of these, but it's green and has the Orcas logo on there.
Can we jump back up to briefly up to Mountain Lake? So there's a couple spots where we have to put, as race directors, we have to put multiple signs because we need long course racers doing one thing and short course racers doing another. Don't try to outsmart yourself. If you see a sign that is obviously pointing to you, and there's a sign that may be on the back of it, like, don't
run in circles.
Follow the one that is meant for you, because there are a couple situations out in the course where we have to have 2 signs for 2 different races. We do have words that say short and long on there, which, if you really want to zone in on and take an extra second and see, they will say short and long on them. So what they're designated for.
Keep in mind, guys, that they put those signs out. They're carrying them in backpacks and they're jogging along or running. So the signs aren't huge. Nothing out there that we put up is huge besides those exit flags. So what Lars is saying is you're going to run by that. You may notice there's a little word on some of them where there's signs next to each other, these yellow ones. But odds are, if you don't slow down when you see that and attempt to actually read it, you may not see what it says. So it's worth stopping and not running by just to make sure you're reading that too.
And on no other course is it more worth it than on this one, because there is not level running. So if you make a mistake, you are going back up. So just take the extra second, trust us. Especially when you're in the boondocks out near Mount Pickett and on the backside, take an extra minute if it requires it to make sure you're going the right way.
So Aaron, if you shoot back over to Pickett up to the right, there we go. So, and scroll down to the south just a little bit. So on Pickett there, you can see the trail's running essentially due north-south for a while, and then it kind of makes a turn and starts heading west. There is a hard turn right there, and if you don't make that turn, and it will be very well marked, but if you miss that turn, you go down here where we don't show those trails, but there are, and that's what I affectionately have termed the pit of despair, because it goes way, way down. It just keeps going down, and then all of a sudden, the only way out is back up. There is another trail down there, but it is a steep, long, brutal climb to get out of there.
I mean, bless his soul, I think, and he's the most good-natured guy one of the most good-natured people that I know, but he went down the pit of despair. He hasn't been back.
Yeah, don't go to the pit of despair.
Then bumping back over to Cascade Lake. So for those of you who have done this race before, you'll notice that swim 13 in the past was swim 1. So, we're finishing on Rosario now, not over at Camp Moran. So, that's a decently sized swim to finish things off for you. I think it's probably close to 800, 900 yards.
It's right about 8. Yeah.
And then when you guys finish, don't forget to get your sweatshirts. We can always ship them afterwards, but who wants to do that? Grab them before you leave. Make sure you guys stick with the sizes that you ordered. They have ran a little bit big, so we can't allow you to switch sizes until everyone's gotten theirs. So please just be respectful of that, but don't forget to get yours. As far as those of you that have awards that are going to earn those awards for top finishes, we're going to try and give those to you pretty much when you cross the line, which is different from the award ceremonies of the past, but we've done that this year, 2 races so far. It's worked out really well. So we're going to do that. And what else, guys? Don't forget to turn in your rest tube and your wetsuit and your timing chip. And what else?
Yeah, that's very important. Return your rest tube, return your wetsuit if you've rented one. Brent, can you talk a little bit about Rosario, the resort, and just what they have available on the grounds that athletes might be able to use, whether it's a shower or, something like that?
Yeah, so Rosario, right by where it says R2, there's actually a pool and some showers there. The first R2, the bottom one. So there's a pool and a shower there. If you're staying at the resort, you'll obviously most people are staying at the resort, so you'll have showers and stuff in your room, which is going to be very close to the start finish. If you are staying at the resort as well, I highly recommend checking out the spa and pool in the old mansion. It is phenomenal. It is super cool. So make sure you go check that out.
I'll post a picture of that. We took a little tour the first year when we were out there. I'll post a picture of that.
Yeah, it's super cool. Most of you probably got emails that if you're staying at the resort, they will not have their restaurants open on Sunday. So the restaurants there will be open Friday and Saturday, but they will not be open on Sunday. So if for breakfast and that kind of stuff, plan accordingly. If you're staying at the resort, you'll have to make sure you have something with you for pre-race breakfast. But otherwise, there's a great restaurant there also in the mansion.
Brent, what would you recommend just for, you've been to Orcas countless times over the years. What would you recommend? Where should people go for dinner? Obviously, it's an island, so it's short-staffed with people due to the pandemic and just shortage of workers. But best recommendations for folks for, say, Friday, Saturday night.
Yeah, there's a lot of great restaurants in East Sound. So just kind of check what their availability is. There's also some very good 4-star dining options as well. Olga has a really popular cafe, which is probably about 10 minutes from Rosario. And then Doe Bay, which is on the far eastern shore of Orcas, also has a very popular restaurant there that has some really good high-class food. But East Sound itself has just a number of different options, everything from pizza joints to bakeries and breakfast places. So I think you really can't go wrong down in there.
Just a couple other things too that we kind of skipped over. Unlike our other races, I don't know that we're going to have a volunteer at every single swim exit for this race, but if you find yourself exiting the swim and there's a volunteer there, whether they're there and there's the aid station somewhere else and they're just at the exit, or whether it's both, and they are looking for your number, please do not progress on until you know that they have your number. They make that quite obvious if they have it. Usually they call it out and repeat it, even if it's just them. But please tell them your number if you exit and you see someone there actually recording that. That's important. And then medical, where we end up having medical, you should be able to recognize them. They will have a red safety vest and a small blue backpack on wherever those do end up being on the course. So just know if you see a red vest, that should be medical. Anything you guys want to add to either the swim exits or medical or even cutoff times?
So
go ahead.
Yeah, so on the medical front, if you have an issue out there, but you're still able to move a little bit, there's a couple times where there's a few times where this course crosses roads, like paved roads. One, when you're doing the race, look both ways before you cross the road. But secondly, if you're hurt and having issues and you get to a paved road, stop at that paved road. We had like the only real injury we've ever had. We were like chasing them around because they crossed like 3 roads and kept moving along until they got to the finish, which is impressive. But we could have got to them a lot sooner had they stopped on a road, because we were all hunting at various road crossings. So if you have an issue and you're like out there, there's nobody else around, other racers generally forward that information along. But if you get to a paved road, go ahead and just stop on that paved road. And that's the quickest way for us to get help to you.
And the cutoff times are actually listed here on the website. We get people that are worried about those from time to time. I can say just in general, as a race director, with any cutoff, we never want to cut people off. Our goal is not to end the race as quick as we can and get everybody off the course and ruin people's days. That is not the goal. In fact, it's the exact opposite of that. But cutoffs are there for a reason. There's limited resources in a lot of these races in these areas, and we can't always close things down or have things out on the course as long as we want. So those also, a lot of those cutoffs are put on there with times and paces that we think are more than fair and doable. Anything slower than that may also just be athletes that are having a very bad day, and it may not be safe for them to be out there longer too. So do you guys want to add anything to the specific cutoffs for this race?
I think it's pretty straightforward there where they are.
Yeah.
Bottom and top of Constitution.
Really, the biggest thing is we don't want athletes in a compromised state of mind being in the water. That's really what the biggest thing comes down to. And oftentimes, I mean, just at Mackinac Island, we just had a major injury where we can't, I mean, it's for your own good. If you have an injury that's preventing you from moving quickly through the course or as quick as you want through the course, we can't have you stuck on the backside of in that mountain picket area, because it would take a long time for help to get there. So there are situations and there are locations where we need to have just a bit extra safety precaution built in.
Okay. All right. Anything else, you guys, that you want to add before we sign off?
Yeah. So one thing I will add, with everything, the wonderful world of pandemics, currently, the way the rules are here in Washington State is anytime you're indoors, you have to have a mask on. So that goes, it's basically, just think of it just like flying and TSA. So anytime you're indoors, you have to have a mask on. So that will be that counts the ferry itself. When you're coming across on the ferry, if you're on the car deck or in your car, you don't need a mask. If you're up on the outside desk, you don't need a mask. But anytime you're inside the main cabin of the ferry, you have to have a mask on. And then restaurants, you'll need them to go in and out of the restaurant. You can have it off while you're eating. And then for packet pickup, that will be inside. So you'll need a mask for that as well. And then with like start finish area, we're going to be social distancing. And if you go inside at the finish area for any reason, make sure you have a mask on.
And guys, we'll have some extra masks with us, but we're not going to bring a mask for every single person in the race. It's more about just, if you don't have one and we can bail you out, okay. But we're going to have probably less than 100 masks on us. So please don't not bring one expecting us to have one. Make sure there's one. If you drop a bag at the start, make sure there's one in there, or multiple ones in there or whatever. So take care of yourself as far as that goes.
The only thing I want to just add is for more and more of our races we are having, which is phenomenal, by the way, a lot of athletes who this is the first time they've ever done a swim run. This race is not excluded from that. If any of you guys are familiar with the Low Tide Boys, they've done a great job of really welcoming in a lot of newbies into the sport. And newbies, these are athletes who you guys have great backgrounds in endurance sports, but it's your first swim run. They're actually leading a swim run session on Saturday morning at Rosario Resort. I think it's 10 o'clock in the morning. A very informal kind of little last minute training type run. I think it's like a course preview type thing. And then they're just going to have what the Swedish called fika, which is just like coffee and snacks afterwards. If it's your first time doing swim run and you're going to be around Saturday morning, I would highly recommend that. A lot of experienced athletes. Chris and Chip are experienced athletes, but they just have a great demeanor and do a great job welcoming athletes into the sport. So do try to attend that. And you could also, besides our website, ÖDYSSEY SwimRun.com, use their website as a resource. It does a great job with equipment, walking you through what the equipment basics are. Yeah, just highly recommend checking that out as well. And they did a course preview of our race, which we have on our website, I think. That can walk you through extensive details about the entire race. And that was really led by Brent and John Stevens. They did a great job with that.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that it, boys?
Yeah, the only other thing I would just say is when you're packing your bags, don't forget to pack your climbing legs.
And descending legs.
And warm clothes, because I was telling Brent, I heard there was snow out west somewhere recently. So
Not here. The weather forecast currently looks great. Let's just keep our fingers crossed for that.
So from anyone coming from Texas, it means pack your winter jacket, for sure a rain jacket, right?
Definitely a rain jacket. And if you're coming from Texas, you should probably bring your down jacket and your puffy jacket and your fleece and
stocking cap, gloves.
Yep.
Aren't you guys all about adverse conditions and everything, though? We need ice and snow and all kinds of crap out there. Come on.
We're good later. We're good with 50 in the air, 60 in the water. That's pretty good. So, add some rain. It's swim run paradise. You're going to love it.
It really is.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks. And for all you guys that are watching it, have a great race, and we will see you out there.
Thanks, guys.
Later.